And we, like I said, we're gonna do some other fun things. So James put together a list that I'm gonna stand behind, and I've yet to see it. And I stand behind it. James, what did you do?
Toke hasn't even seen the list, but here is the list, guys. What are, in your opinion, the top 5 rules of soccer? Your favorite 5 rules, the best 5 rules. What are your favorite 5 rules for soccer? Guess something we don't even think about or talk about often, but I did a little list. I did a little compiling, and here is Enemies of the Fire's top 5 rules in soccer. By the way, after this, we'll have the inverse, and we'll talk about the top 5 worst rules in soccer. And we want to hear from you. Comment below. Let us know in the comments. Let them ring. Here we go. We're going to start with the top 5.
There's probably more. There's probably a lot more on that worst list than best.
I imagine.
To be honest, soccer is a very simple game. Not a ton of rules. Just don't touch the balls.
Have you seen the rule book? Have you ever taken the test to become a referee?
I have not. Is it sizable?
It's sizable. it takes you go to a 2-day class, and you can get certified pretty easily nowadays. However,
and then you can have drunk like parents throw beer bottles at you.
Well, yeah, but you go farther up. You can go farther up the rigmarole, though. The more often you get checked up on and take these tests, and you can go and test into higher licenses, essentially to referee. But here we are. We're talking. I'm sorry.
Well, when you get high enough as a referee, do you just take the last name Uncle, like as if you just then like get put into like a royal family?
If you're lucky.
Anyway, sorry, I derailed everything.
If you're lucky. But so guys, we're going to talk about, here they are, the top 5 rules in soccer. We're going to go
you love these
that are approved by Enemies of the Fire. Number 5, duration of match rules. I love the duration of match rules as currently situated right now. You've been talking about them. You've been saying you've been loving how these matches have been going, and all of a sudden it's the 98th minute. There's 8 minutes of stoppage time. There's 10 minutes of stoppage time. There's 4 minutes of stoppage time. Well, stoppage time is a rule in soccer. I love stoppage time. I love the way soccer makes it work. I think soccer makes sense. The first time you watch soccer, you're like, oh, they're not ending right on time. This doesn't make sense. When you play it, it makes all the sense. When you ref it, it makes all the sense, because as a ref, you got your watch out. You're basically doing a little silent tally of all those little seconds of the game that don't have play. The ball's out of bounds. The coaches are yapping, what have you. You add those up, and you're like, yeah, it's about 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, or 8 minutes, depending upon the delay in play. I love the duration of match rules currently situated. How you feel about them?
I can't believe we are in total agreement about this. I love it. I've been the one championing the fact that we're having these longer, you know what I mean? Like, I just remember, I think the worst experience as a fan in soccer of time wasting that I saw was the Ghana USA round of 16 game in the 2010 World Cup. Yeah, that was probably the worst case I've ever seen. And they were like 2 minutes. They just wasted the 2 minute. It just was garbage. So I do love seeing all of that time wasted get put right back on the end. And you know what? It's not just wasted time. It's injuries. Like a guy would be down for 3.5 minutes, and that's fine in my opinion. But the issue is then they'd be like 2 minutes of added time. It's like, dude, the one injury alone. So yes, we are in 100% agreement on this one. If that's even a word.
There's one word about stoppage time that to me describes it and why it exists. Tension describes that, because there are times in the game where that is its most tense moment, is the end of the game, where you're going for the tie, you're going for the win, you're trying to make the other team lose, and some miracle happens. Something happens, whether it's a team pulls off a miracle tie, a miracle win, a miracle loss, happens in that tense time of tension in stoppage time. That's what I love about it, and I really do love that. That's the number 5 rule. Might have been the number 1. We're going to go on, though. Number 4. Top 5 soccer rule. Number 4 is the substitution rules. The substitution rules, as currently stipulated, are the best version that they've ever been.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're talking 5, like the sub rule in general we all love, but you're talking 5/3.
5/3 is the best rule. I want more. It's not good enough. I want hockey style. But I've talked to MLS coaches, MLS championship coaches, winning coaches in the past where they're like, you're mad, Jaymes. No, I don't need more subs. They don't need more decisions. They want less decisions. But I, as a fan of goals, of the league, of play, of the game, I want change. I see change as a good thing. I see change as offering more minutes to players who wouldn't otherwise get it, and that's what you get with this new 5 sub rule. There's more guys getting playing time than ever in the history of soccer, of professional league soccer.
I do agree with that. Like I struggle. The sub rule in general, like I said, we all love it. It's brilliant. We need people to come into the game. But for me, the 5 subs, the only thing about 5 subs I don't like, because I do like the 5 subs because I like seeing more players. And it keeps games better at the later stages of the game.
Players are fresher.
But the only thing about 5 subs I don't like is that it really takes away a lot of upset opportunity. Because with, if your bench is extremely deep, if 2 more guys, you're talking that's I can math like 40% of the team you can switch over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so if you're Man City playing Aston Villa, number 5 is a whole hell of a lot better than Aston Villa's number 5.
Sounds like an Aston Villa problem.
But I mean, I think 5 is a good number anymore, and it would just be pointless. It wouldn't feel right. The game would get worse because you'd have these albatrosses on the team of the 3 guys stuck on, or like 2 guys still on the field,
Mm-hmm.
But
I actually see the opposite. I don't know, I see little teams could beat the big teams with more subs. I think people aren't thinking big enough. I think people think, oh, more subs, the bigger teams will win. More statistically, if we're talking 6 out of 10 games, yeah, the bigger team will probably win. But having more subs does not disadvantage the little guy, and I think that's a flawed way of thinking because when you are the player, you're thinking you're fresh. There's a guy out there who's not fresh, and you could be fresh and stopping the pain, stopping whatever the problem is that they could be getting picked on in a certain area. That to me is why I want more subs than less, because I think a lot of other people in their minds want to put all these other players down and say, oh, they're not good enough, it's going to limit them. No, let them get out there and prove themselves. That's what we have with this current situation right now. More players are getting the chance to go out there and to prove themselves and showing that in the last few minutes, they've got more in their boots than Leo Messi after 60. Sorry, even the best player in the world gets tired. And somebody on the bench could produce
100% true.
And someone on the bench could outproduce them just because of the fresher legs. I don't know. That's where I really like that substitution.
I think 5,
you have a good point about 5 maybe being kind of the limit, but I say expand to more. I do like your point.
For me, and that takes a lot of soul searching for me because I never want to be the get off my lawn guy. I'm I want to stay up on the music. I don't want to be just like a traditionalist for the sake of it. But 5 does seem to make the most amount of sense, or at least the max amount of sense, right? Like, I think more than that, you say you're
potentially playing with fire.
Well, I mean, you're playing 2 different, like, you could make a full, if you're talking 8 subs, let's go to the max, like 8 subs. You could start the second half with an entirely different squad.
And you should. In my opinion, you should. In my opinion, you should. Your first team, the 8 of your guys, they should be playing 100% for the first 60. And then, guess what? The last 30, I got a sub for you. You're going to see better soccer because guys can go the full 100 in that first 60 instead of having to save that full 100 and they go like, oh, I have to pick my spots. So you have less picking your spots, you have a better sport. That's why football has all these subs too. And they don't have a limited sub.
I said I backed this.
53, but I do like that. We'll move into the number 3 top 5 rules in soccer. And this is going to be a contentious one over in Europe or maybe specifically in Britain, because Well, they're a bunch of gits, and they're bottling it when it comes to VAR technology. But goal line technology and VAR, to me, that is one of the greatest integrations of technology and rules in the modern game. Thank you for making it happen, and thank you to the leagues that get it right, like MLS, and don't fuck around and want it to be successful. Unlike the EPL, who has who they want it to fail. Everybody in EPL wants it to fail.
They do want it to fail. I mean, here's the thing: VAR misses way less than we did before, right?
And they want to pretend like it doesn't. They want to gaslight themselves into thinking that it somehow denigrates or ruins the game, not getting the right result. They're fucking insane. But then again, we've all been, what's the word? Not brainwashed, but we've been conditioned by NFL and football to want to get, and baseball, to want to get the right call. We as Americans want the right call. We don't want to live and exist in a lie. We're Chicago Bears fans. There was a horrible incident in which Megatron caught a touchdown against the Chicago Bears with the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions effectively won the game. Every single the refs called off the catch, said it wasn't a catch, wasn't a legal catch. It ended up becoming like a big thing. They fixed catches later, years down the line, due to that incident. But almost every Chicago fan with class did not like that call, and they all thought Megatron scored that touchdown. And that, long story short, we're conditioned to want to get it right here in America. And I wonder if that's not necessarily the case in England, where they're like, they don't want to necessarily get it right. They want to get what the result feels good for them. And that means the big club winning.
Don't forget, it's called the beautiful game, brother. That's
and the beautiful game means the bigger team wins all the time in Europe.
It's poetry in motion, my man. No, in all seriousness, I have been very big fan of VAR. I do feel like there is always so again, I really feel like the not celebrating thing is a cop-out, because when it's legit, and if it's close, there's all this tension, and guess what? Everybody still explodes. It's just a different moment, right?
They get crazy. So we're like, yeah.
I am all for VAR. I think it can be done better. I think it should be done better. I know
in the places where it's not being done good enough, yes.
I think that the whole hesitation has always been that soccer is a flowing game. You talk about baseball and American football,
yes,
and it's like it's like these little singular tiles.
You're right, because the stop-start nature of the NFL, of MLB,
exactly right. And so, but
guess what, Toke? Soccer stops and starts all the fucking time. All the fucking time. And these people want to gaslight themselves into not realizing that a free kick is a stoppage. And then a throw-in is a stoppage. And a corner kick is a stoppage. And a goal kick is a stoppage. And all these freaking things are stoppages. Like, get with the program, all these little bitches and wah-wah crybabies.
I have approved this message.
Can't wait to read the comments. By the way, we love you all.
What is number two?
Number 2 is off. Oh, no, I'm doing a different one. Number 2 is foul, and the foul and current misconduct rules, where you get red card, yellow card. That's a good thing. It wasn't always that way.
100%. I don't want a sin bin. I really kind of hate that idea. I really like yellow and red card. What I do, and this wraps back to the last thing. The one thing VAR has done is taken away that bullshit of where the guys are too scared to give those cards early or in the game or in very important moments. You know what I mean? Then so I am all for the card system. I don't want a sin bin like hockey. I don't want Nigel DeYoung breaking legs and then just sitting down and having a fucking orange slice and then going back in the game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I don't want a sin bin. I love the cards.
I want to put a pin in your sin bin idea for when we talk about the top 5 worst rules, because that might be an idea that we have to at least, throw out there for one of them. But sin bin, not in soccer, but cards. And in indoor soccer, we used to have a kind of a duality of both, where you got a blue card and you have to go sit off for like a minute or two, and the other team would get an advantage.
you must have played at a much higher level than I, because we never had no sim bins.
Chicago Magic.
It was just.
Yeah, Ned Grabavoy. And
On your team?
No.
I was about to say
he was older than me.
Fucking...
He was older than me.
I legit thought you were about to tell me you played soccer with Ned Grabavoy.
No, I did play with a couple MLSers. But the one of them was a goalie. He was just like, he did not get far. And Ned Grabavoy was the one who got the farthest of that particular group. Okay. And we had some freaking studs. Like, man, I feel like U.S. Soccer missed some talent over in our area for sure.
I mean, it's a big country.
But man, we're in Chicago. We're out in the burbs. So I mean, that is a hotbed of talent. But the foul misconduct rules, I think those are great things in the current game. The way that a referee is empowered to make these calls, send you out of the game. It's a problem when they change the game and they take the game into their own hands. But when the game comes to them and they're just having to dole out punishment because of what happened, their hands are tied. It's when a ref steps above that, and we all know when it happens. When the ref takes the game into his own hands, that's a little bit more weird. It doesn't seem to work. But when a ref is honest with his calls,
now we have VAR.
Yeah, and that's what they got VAR for. I like that.
We got VAR to fix that.
It's true. And the number one top 5 rule in soccer, the number one, it's the reason things are as exciting as they are. The reason for the excitement of the game is because of this one single rule. And some people are going to hate it. Strikers especially. Offside. The rule is offside. The offside rule is the number one rule in soccer. Without the offside rule, you would not have the breakaways. You wouldn't.
No, the sport wouldn't exist the way it does anymore.
Breakaways do not exist without offside rule. So take that out. So offside rule is one of the single biggest game changers of the game that creates excitement.
You know what I feel like if there wasn't offsides, what you would see a ton more of? Keepers accidentally punching strikers in the head on balls bouncing into the box, like high bounces into the box.
Well, you'd have to.
I really feel like you'd see a lot of concussions
because think about
not having offside.
The players in those instances, I guarantee you, the taxes would change. You probably have tall, bigger LeBron James types of strikers, and the goalies would have to be somewhat similar to boot. And you're right.
And they just stand there.
They just have to try and get in as many punches as they could, accidental.
I mean,
as they
really,
could.
you like, how many times would there be like a 50-50 ball and the guy's got to punch it and he'd end up smacking somebody and they get a concussion?
That would happen a lot because of no offside. The guy would be able to cherry pick all day and they could just launch balls. In fact, you'd have to have a dedicated defender on him.
We would never have seen Messi. He wouldn't have played the sport because the ball would have just sailed over him both directions.
A striker like Messi wouldn't really exist. They'd have to be more of a midfielder in that type of game because of the way the long balls and the play would work. It's absolutely single-handedly changed the game for the better. Offside rule is
more love.
The offside rule is huge. And that is the top 5 rules in soccer. Let us know if you guys agree or disagree in the comments below. What do you think?
This is approved by myself and DPG, who is not here this evening.
All right. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the top 5 worst rules in soccer. After that,
I fear I know a spoiler.
After that, we're going to talk a little Manchester United, Ten Hag, MLS / Caitlin Clark, all of it. Swirl it all in a little bowl and mix it up and serve it on top of nachos. We'll be talking about that here at Enemies of Fire right when we come back after those messages from our sponsors. See you on the flip side.